I could not take it anymore. Not only was it on one side, but it was on both of my sides. Hey, if you're returning back, thank you for coming to my channel. I appreciate the support. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Tiffany. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So today is going to be a little bit of a story time. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, but I wanted to share a time where it was very scary for me. It was very scary for my loved ones, where just to put it quite frankly, I almost died. So, all right, let's get into it. Not this pregnancy, but my last pregnancy with my son. Everything was going fine. I would go to my routine prenatal appointments. Nothing was showing up. Everything was going okay. But as you know, if you've been pregnant, you know they usually follow up with your blood work. And they also follow up with the urinalysis just to make sure that everything is okay like it's supposed to be. If there's anything wrong, then they can go ahead and do what they need to do to get whatever it is that needs to be fixed. So a urinalysis took place, and it turned out that I had a UTI. I was completely unaware that I had one, but I feel like as soon as I got my medication for it, then I started feeling like I had one. It was uncomfortable. If you've ever had a UTI before, it is not fun at all by any means. So I was taking the medication that my OB at the time that she gave me, but I was not feeling better. I actually started feeling worse. So I called her and I let her know, and she prescribed something else for me. So fast forward 4 days after celebrating my birthday, I went to work as usual, and I wasn't feeling good. Something was off. And I went to the restroom just to try to see if I could shake off whatever it was that was going on. But I was still not feeling good. I even noticed, this may be a little bit TMI, but I even noticed a little bit of blood when I went to the restroom while I was wiping myself off. That right there was alarming. It really was. So I went back to the classroom, where at that moment I was working at a middle school, and I was a teacher's aide, teacher's assistant. And once again, I tried to see if things would get better. I was worried, but not that much. But I did started to get a little bit more panic when the feeling that I had would not go away. So I let the teacher know and told her that I was going to go to the nurse's office. Halfway there to the nurse office, I felt like I was about to pass out. I was feeling horrible. So I was feeling bad to the point where I had to take a break in order for me to continue walking to the nurse's office. So when I got there, everything went downhill. Started shaking. I had a fever. I threw up, and the nurse was not able to get my fever down. They went ahead and called the ambulance, and I ended up at the nearest hospital, and I was there for maybe about a day, if not overnight. I was stabilized for a little bit, but things worsened then. I could not breathe at all. It was hard for me to breathe. I actually blacked out. I've never blacked out in my entire life, but you better believe that day while I was at that hospital, I did. And I'm not sure if I was giving any medication to the point that I would be out of it, or maybe it was just the fact that it was just so much stuff going on. But I was trying to talk, but I couldn't speak. I would open up my mouth, but words would not come out. I was trying to move, could not move at all with everything in me. But what I could do was I could hear. So at one point I heard somebody saying, "Hey, I need people over here." And then it was another point where somebody said that this baby is not viable. When I heard that, y'all, it was not good at all whatsoever. I was like, yo, what is going on? All I knew was that I was not feeling good and that I needed to get better. It was just absolutely horrible. But then there was somebody else. I don't know who she was. I know it was a woman because it was a woman's voice. And she went ahead and said, God just cover this mom and her baby. That gave me a little bit more peace compared to everything else I was hearing at the time, because it was all completely overwhelming. So from there, at that hospital, I got transferred to another hospital. And unfortunately, my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, and my mom did not know. Nobody called them to let them know that I was transferred. They did not know until they tried to visit me where I was supposed to be. And then they told them, hey, she's been transferred to this area. And it was, y'all, they were very upset. And I was upset too when I found out. But moving right along, when I was there, like I said, I was intubated. I was strictly in ICU because of just everything going on. And I also endured, I'm not sure what it was, but you can actually see in the picture right here where there's a catheter on the side of my neck. I can't remember why they said that I needed that, but it was very important for me to have it. So I had that catheter in my neck, I guess my jugular vein. I'm not sure. But I did have that there. I was intubated and I was unable to breathe on my own. And I also ended up with nephrostomy tubes. So after all the testing that had happened, what they found out when they did a culture was that I had a bacteria called Pseudomonas. And it had affected my kidneys to the point where they were going to potentially shut down. And that's why I ended up with a really bad kidney infection. I had gone septic. And due to that, and due to me being pregnant, I was 3 months pregnant at that time with my son, I ended up getting nephrostomy tubes. And if you don't know what nephrostomy tubes are, they are pretty much, just to simplify, they're catheters that go straight into your kidney, both of my kidneys in my case, and they are attached to bags. So because of my kidneys not functioning the way that they were supposed to, the way that it was working was my urine, once again, this may be TMI, I apologize, but my urine was going into these bags and I would have to empty those out. So being there in ICU was a complete, it was just a lot, because moving, it was difficult for me to move. The pain that I was enduring, there was a point where I had so much pain, and that was before I got my nephrostomy tubes. I was like, yo, I don't even want to be here anymore. That's how excruciating this pain was. I could not take it anymore. Not only was it on one side, but it was on both of my sides. And so with that being said, I was in ICU for a few days, and then when I had gotten better over that period of time, I ended up, I'm not sure what the section is called, but it's where you're better off to almost where you're about to leave. And so I was there for a little bit, and I ended up seeing a high-risk OBGYN. I could no longer see the doctor that I was seeing, and the OB I was seeing now was at the hospital that I was at. So I actually went there for my appointments, continuing my prenatal appointments, and I wasn't feeling good again, so I ended up yet again in the hospital while I was there for my routine prenatal appointment. So not only was I in the hospital once, I was in the hospital twice. And the second time I ended up in the hospital, they actually took out my tubes and they put new ones in. The first time I had my nephrostomy tubes, I did not feel anything. I'm pretty sure it was probably because I was in so much pain. That was my main focus. But this time around, I did feel just about everything, even though despite the numbing. It was painful, but I got through it. So I did end up going back to work after the second time I was in the hospital. And, you know, I just had to do what I had to do. I would go to the restroom, empty out my bags, and I also had home health coming to make sure that everything was okay. They were checking my vitals and just making sure if there was any problems or any help that I needed, that they would be there to help me. So I had these nephrostomy tubes in from October all the way through February, and that's when I gave birth. So the day that I gave birth, not that same day, but the day after, is when they took my nephrostomy tubes out. And there was so many things that happened in between, but I did not want to draw this video out any longer than it needed to be. But by the grace of God, I'm able to sit here, and by the grace of God, my son is here, and we're just able to share this story. We're able to share this testimony because it was a lot of ups and downs and just not knowing how, why, or when, but I'm here, and I just wanted to share my story. Thank you for watching. Until next time.